Florida. It made landfall as a Category 1 storm. Melissa, go ahead and flip the prompter for me. It made landfall as a Category 1 and just made landfall just north of Port St. Lucie about 3 o'clock this morning. It became the 4th strongest tropical storm or hurricane to make landfall in the U.S. in the month of November. How about that? So where does it go? Well, it stays west of Jacksonville, then it curves back to the northeast and gets to a point just south of Asheville, and that's by 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Winds, it'll be a depression by then. After that, it's going to be extratropical. But it's going to move essentially over Roanoke and then just to the west of us. So we're going to get some breezy conditions from it, and we're going to get some tropical rains from it. It has a fair amount of moisture with it. We do still have tropical storm warnings, though, just north of Tampa, through Jacksonville, through southern Georgia. Yep, Macon, Valdosta, and also up the coast into Charleston, South Carolina. Now, as we mentioned, this becomes the 4th strongest storm to make landfall in the U.S. during the month of November. You have to go back to Kate, back in '85, Cat 2, landfall in Florida, winds 100 miles per hour. You have to go back to 1935, also a Cat 2, 100 miles per hour. Notice 3 of these 4 made landfall in Florida. The third one, you have to go way back to 1861. That was a Category 1, 80 mile per hour winds, and that made landfall in North Carolina. And then we go to Nicole, November 10th, Category 1, winds 75 miles per hour. So kind of interesting. And these are from 1851 through this year. Okay, here is the radar. Past couple of hours. Pretty big bands of rain and storms now. Just north of 10, kind of curling back west of 75, then kind of coming back across 10 north of Panama City. These are interesting, too. These are some pretty heavy bands. Look at all the red. Those are heavy storms. Those are going to rotate back into Georgia and even South Carolina as we go through the next couple of hours. Now, we'll zoom in a little bit. Heaviest activity, Valdosta, north of Tallahassee, then just north of Panama City. See these areas of yellow and even some orange. Those are heavy storms pushing through as we go through the next hour or so. But even so, Cedar Key, back to Lake City, I mean, it's still wrapping moisture all the way around. That will continue until the center begins to pull northward. Now, we'll kind of widen this out. So we have rain up to Atlanta, rain to Charlotte, rain to Raleigh, and these are these heavy bands that are going to kind of push ashore right along the Georgia-South Carolina border. And we're going to zoom in. We have some rain showers now pretty close to us around Roanoke, certainly down toward Greensboro and I-40. So we're looking at a dry evening. I mean, you can take a walk after dinner tonight with the dog, and it'll be in the 50s, be pretty warm. But by dawn tomorrow, the bands are going to get in here. It's not going to rain continuously. Yes, we have a weather watch alert, but it's not going to rain continuously Friday. There'll be bands of heavier showers and storms, and then a break, another band of heavy showers and storms. So how much rainfall are we talking about? The model's a pretty good agreement. I don't really understand why our local model is so low, but the rest of the models, the NAM and the GFS and the European model says, hey, by the time all's said and done, so by Saturday morning, looking at an inch or more, maybe an inch and a third. I'm going to throw out the graph and say we're going to go with the other 3 models because it just seems looking at the radar, looking at the position of the storm, it seems we'll get about an inch. Now, we'll widen this way out. So here's a GFS now that says about an inch or 2. Euro is still pretty bullish. This hasn't updated, though, since the last run, but it's still a little more bullish than the GFS. And I kind of like this now because it has pretty much a blanket 1 to maybe 1.5 inches across the metro with higher amounts back to the west and north, and really high amounts on the other side of the divide. Garrett County and Oakland, maybe 3 inches. That would cause some pretty bad flooding in the mountains. Okay, let's go through the models. This is the American model. So not much by Friday morning, by tomorrow morning, but just enough to wet the roads and kind of make it miserable at the bus stop. The best news about the bus stop, it's going to be warm. So hundredths of an inch here and there by 6 a.m. By 6 p.m., though, it has an inch of rain pretty much everywhere, I-95 and west, over an inch and a half in Leesburg, over an inch and a half in Hagerstown, and then by 5:30 in the morning on Saturday, we have about 1 to 2 inches across the metro. This is brand new, the 2 inches up in Westminster, and certainly some 2-inch amounts between Luray and Culpeper. I kind of like the way that looks. And less as you go into extreme southern Maryland, southern Calvert, southern St. Mary's County, not as much. You're going to get rain, yes, but not as much. So that is the American model. Now, Let's contrast that with the European model. What I really like is both models over the past 48 hours or so have been in great agreement as to the onset of the precip tomorrow morning and the exit by dawn on Saturday. So once again, yep, this is pretty similar. A few hundredths by 6 a.m. on Friday, not much. This has less by Friday evening. You know, instead of more like an inch, it has a half an inch to maybe 0.8 up near Frederick. But then it makes up for it by 6 a.m. on Saturday. Most folks west of I-95, again, this is European, has an inch of rain. Higher amounts out along I-81. And yes, even like the GFS, it has big amounts across the divide, over 2 inches in Oakland. So that to me looks like they're on sort of the same page now. So let's kind of go through this. 10 o'clock tonight, yeah, we are fine. Clouds, but temps upper 50s, low 60s. That's about our average high this time of year. By 6 a.m., boom, here comes the rain and showers. Where you see the yellow or the orange, those are heavier areas of rainfall. That's 6 o'clock in the morning. 9 o'clock begins to thin out a little bit, but we still have some showers. Temps upper 50s, low 60s. By 1 o'clock, look at the red. You don't see flecks of red too often in November. So there will be some heavier downpours, possibly the rumble of thunder. And we have not taken an isolated tornado off the table. There's just enough shear in the atmosphere to maybe provide some rotation in some of these storms. So that's 1 o'clock on Friday. By 6 p.m., a bit of a break. Again, it's not going to rain continuously. More showers by 6 o'clock Friday evening west of I-81. Look at the temperatures, crazy, 69 downtown. This is even crazier. Another wave comes back by 11 o'clock on Friday, and temperatures 70, Manassas, 70 in D.C., 66 in Cumberland, still 63 in Morgantown. I mean, that is kind of crazy, it really is. So that is by 11 o'clock. Then, boom, by 6 a.m., it's gone. I mean, it just hauls out of here. We have sunshine to start, but we also have another little disturbance that's going to roll through here Saturday afternoon. So, yeah, Futurecast trying to produce some afternoon clouds and maybe a couple of afternoon showers, certainly nothing heavy, and still mild on Saturday. Behind this little disturbance, the cold air will come in. In fact, here's a little harbinger. See a little snow out toward Oakland and Petersburg. So, yeah, we could see a dip in the temperature by late Saturday afternoon. But still, the bulk of the day will be mild. And it'll be sunny until we get to the afternoon. These clouds roll through. And then 8:30 Saturday night, it's trying to crank out a couple of sprinkles. I see it. Don't know that I really believe it. But look how cold it is already. You know, by 8:30, temps down in the mid-40s in the burbs. And 30s with some snow across the divide. Oakland down toward Davis and Timberline in the Canaan Valley. So that's the deal. Now, winds are going to be a factor. Not a huge factor. We're not crazy concerned about the winds, but anytime you have, 12 hours of winds gusting anywhere from 25 to 35, you got to pay attention. So winds in the morning, this is in the morning at about 7 o'clock, winds gusting to 30, 35 miles per hour. By afternoon, winds are gusting to 38 miles per hour in Frederick, and certainly across the bay, they're gusting over 40. And we have a small craft advisory on parts of the bay and a gale warning on the other parts of the bay. And then by evening, notice the winds are turning now. This is late at night on Friday. Winds now go northwest. The storm has passed to our north, and winds are gusting 30 to 35 miles per hour. So again, we're not talking about a wind advisory criterion or anything crazy, and thankfully most of the leaves are off the trees. If the canopy were still full of leaves, we would have a bigger issue. And then by Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, winds gusting 20 to maybe 25. Okay, here's the timeline. 6 a.m. Friday to noon, rain and showers, wet commute, and also wet at the bus stop. Breezy and mild, though. Hey, temps in the 60s. That's kind of nice. Noon to 6 p.m., more rain and showers, a few storms, more to the west of town. A little bit of a lull for the metro. I know some soccer games are scheduled like around 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock on Friday. They'll probably be played. Winds gusting 25 to 30 miles per hour. Now, 6 p.m. to midnight on Friday night, more showers and storms, but again, not continuous. We're getting waves of tropical moisture. Windy, very warm. Some models push the temperatures at night into the low 70s. In fact, our high temperature on Friday may not occur until 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And then overnight Friday into dawn on Saturday, showers and storms will end before dawn. It will still be windy. It'll still be mild. And winds could gust 25 to 35 miles per hour. So the highest winds will be overnight Friday into early Saturday morning, really the pre-dawn hours of Saturday. So let's review. We've covered a lot of ground here, okay? Weather watch alert. Weather watch alert for Friday for rain, showers, and a few storms, and some gusty winds. Windy and still mild Saturday, colder at night, colder Sunday. In fact, breezy, coldest day so far Sunday. We may not make it out of the 40s on Sunday. If we don't, that'll be the coldest day since April 18th, which was unseasonably cold back then. So again, weather watch alert. And we issue weather watch alerts for 3 reasons. Either you have to change your plans, it could be life-threatening, or it could be a dynamic situation, and you have to check back with us frequently. In this case, it's kind of all 3. We're not so concerned about life-threatening, but again, there's an isolated tornado as a possibility. Leaves are on the streets. There could be some minor street flooding. So that's why we have a weather watch alert. In this case, it covers all 3. Only has to cover 1 for us to issue it. So, boom. Some heavy rain, breezy Friday, windy at night. There's your weather watch alert. Windy on Saturday, but still mild, and then rather chilly. Almost cold on Sunday. Temperatures only around 50. I'm planning on a fire Sunday night, first one of the season. Upper 40s on Monday, upper 40s Tuesday, low 50s Wednesday, and then some showers possible on Thursday with temperatures back in the low 50s. This is a pretty cold stretch right here. And, you know, we've had a pretty warm stretch. Now, guess what? We have to make up for it and have a pretty cold stretch. So that's the way it looks right now. I'm going to, don't go anywhere yet. I'll be right back. I want to just add a couple graphics. So Melissa, just keep it up, keep the streaming up. I want to explain a little bit more about the threats and the impacts, and also the weather watch alert. And then we can go over some of the other graphics too. But I think this is helpful. I think it's helpful. It's helpful to know what the threats are. And then you have threats, but then you also have impacts of the threats. And so I'll talk about that as to, you know, what that means and what the threats could be from this from the storm. But I think we're generally looking at a 1 to 1.5 inch rainfall across the board, which really isn't a bad thing, because we've actually been kind of dry of late. So that's kind of a good thing. So again, timing's fine. Timing is early tomorrow morning, and then also, but it ends, you know, quickly. It ends very, very quickly. Before you wake up, in fact, it will be over on Saturday morning. Let's just see. I have the impacts in here. Okay. All right, well, I'll just run this. So this is, I think, this will kind of give you guys a little better idea of why we issue these, there it is, whammos, okay. Why we issue these things in the first place. And we'll see if, in fact, I'm going to let you know a little secret here. We're going to actually update this right now. Why we issue these. And again, we issue them for a number of reasons, okay? Yes, it can be life-threatening. That's one. But it doesn't have to be life-threatening to issue this. And I think that's kind of important to keep that in mind. You may have to change your plans. It may be a dynamic situation, so that, you know, you may have to say, you know, if you have outside plans, let's say you're trying to plan, you know, dinner on a rooftop. Well, that's not going to happen on Friday. That's just not going to fly. But this is why we issue them. So it doesn't always, I don't want folks to always think, oh my goodness, there's a weather watch alert, you know, that means, you know, death and destruction. Not necessarily. It means that, you know, things are changing. You got to check back with us frequently. And yes, it could be life-threatening, but it's not always. It doesn't have to be life-threatening. Okay, here we go. storm is barely a tropical storm. Winds are 40. The threshold's 39. It then moves back to the north and to the west. And so it goes west of Jacksonville and to the east of Panama City. It goes just to the south of Atlanta, and then it moves on back into around the Asheville, North Carolina area. And then we're looking at, it passes west of us as it goes up the Appalachians, and it becomes extratropical. So the Hurricane Center is going to track it till tomorrow afternoon, and then that's it. It's a depression by then. Of course, by then, it's thrown a lot of moisture our way. We still have tropical storm warnings. Charleston down to the coast, north coast of Florida, and still a good chunk of northern Florida and a good chunk of southern Georgia, because the storm's going to technically have tropical storm force winds. Again, that's only 39 miles per hour or higher. So it becomes the fourth strongest tropical storm or hurricane to make landfall in the U.S. during the month of November, as far as we know. I mean, records go back to 1851. Winds were 75 miles per hour as it made landfall about 3 o'clock this morning. Here is the radar past couple of hours, and yeah, here's the center of the storm. It's trying to go back in the northeast Gulf of Mexico. We'll see if the Hurricane Center has it offshore, because then it would technically make landfall 3 times. The Grand Isle in the Bahamas, and then Port St. Lucie, and then it might make landfall again here. We'll zoom in. Heaviest rain is north of 10. But notice it's just wrapping all the way around the center back towards Cedar Key and Lake City. But also notice a couple things. Look at these bands. That's a heavy band. It's going to roll in through Georgia. That could produce severe weather, some tornadoes. And then some rain all the way to Raleigh-Durham, and already some showers around Roanoke. So showers are close to us, but we have the rest of the night. You're fine. You can take a walk after dinner. So rainfall the next 48 hours. Again, we went through this. I'm going to throw this guy out, but I think the rest of them are fine. I think we're going to see over an inch of rain across the board. And that means by Saturday morning, okay? Basically Friday morning to Saturday morning. And again, GFS has an inch or so. Euro has a little more, especially to our west. And I think the models are in much better agreement than they have been. So this is the American model by 6 a.m. tomorrow. Some rain, I mean hundredths of an inch, okay, but enough to wet the roads and make a wet commute. Another reason for our weather watch alert. By 6 p.m., look at this, an inch, D.C., over an inch and a half in Hagerstown. And then doesn't add much to it by 6 a.m. on Saturday, an inch and a quarter in D.C., and still under 2 inches in Frederick and just over 2 inches in Hagerstown. Another bullseye between Culpeper and Luray. So that's the American model. European model, very similar, a hundredths of an inch by Friday morning, so the timing is the same. Less, though, by 6 p.m. Remember, the GFS had an inch. This only has a half an inch to 3/4 of an inch. You have to go up toward Hagerstown and Martinsburg to get the full inch. And then by 6 a.m. on Saturday, it does make up for it. Brings almost an inch to D.C. European model again. Inch and a third, Frederick and Hagerstown. Bullseye, Cumberland, Oakland. Over 2 inches there. There could be some flooding in the mountains. So we have a weather watch alert day for Friday. So let's talk about it. What are the threats? Well, downpours are moderate. Hail's off the table. Tornadoes are low, but they're still on the table. Slight chance. Damaging winds are low, but they're still on the table. Winds could gust to 30, 35 miles per hour. So in terms of impacts to us, flooding is low. We'll leave it on the table. We're not crazy concerned about flooding. The only reason it's that high is because we have leaves everywhere, and if it clogs the storm drains and we have a heavy band of showers or storms come across, it could be some minor street flooding. Wet commutes, that's high, because since yesterday we thought it would be wet Friday morning and wet coming home too. Power outage is low, but on the table, and outside plans very high. We've been saying since Monday you want to move your Friday night plans indoors or push them to maybe another day, another night. So what is a weather watch alert? As I mentioned, life-threatening weather is possible. That we'd issue one for that. May have to change your plans. We'd issue one for that. A lot of rain for the entire DMV for a Friday night. Yeah, or high school football. You have to change your plans. Or a dynamic situation, you should check back with us frequently. We'd issue one for that. In this case, we kind of have most of them. I don't know about the life-threatening. I mean, there's a slight chance of a tornado, so I guess we got to keep that on the table. But certainly we have these too. it has certainly been a dynamic situation. It will continue to be as the system moves inland and closer to us. So 10 o'clock tonight on Futurecast, we're okay. Dry, temps in the upper 50s, around 60. By morning, showers and some heavier downpours. 9 o'clock, showers wane a little bit. Temps still around 60. By 1 o'clock, look at the red. Maybe it's some storms back toward Winchester. Temps in the upper 60s. And then here's our little lull or respite. Most of the models are in agreement with this. Between about 3 o'clock and about 9 o'clock, not much happens. I mean, some showers are possible, but most of the activity is out toward the mountains. But don't worry, it comes back in by 11 o'clock, and temps around 70. And winds continue screaming out of the south-southeast at 15 to 25. But then, boom, by 6 a.m. on Saturday morning, gone. But, Futurecast, and this is the NAM, trying to bring in some showers Saturday afternoon. Not going to issue a weather watch alert for that, but just be advised, if you're at a vineyard, you might have a couple showers, passing showers. Winds in the morning or by noon, late morning, noon, winds gusting to 30. By evening, winds gusting 30 to 35. Of course, much higher along the shore. There's a gale warning in effect for much of the bay and a small craft advisory for the remainder. And then by late Friday night, early Saturday morning, winds are gusting to 30, 35, but they're now out of the northwest, and it just remains breezy the rest of the day. So here's your timeline. 6 a.m. to noon, rain and showers, wet commute, and also at the bus stop. Breezy and mild, temps in the 60s. That's the only silver lining, really. By noon to 6, more showers, a few storms, but more west. A little bit of a lull for the immediate metro. Now winds gusting 25 to 30. 6 p.m. to midnight, more showers and storms, but not continuous. Windy and very warm, 65 to 72. I mean, the temps actually go up at night. That's a little bit unusual and shows you, how strong this southerly flow is and how dynamic the situation is. And then overnight Friday, showers and storms end before dawn on Saturday. Still windy and mild, winds gusting 25 to 35 miles per hour. So let's review a little bit here, okay? Tomorrow we have a weather watch alert. No, that's a given. Some rain, showers, and storms. Windy and still mild Saturday. Again, we might have a couple of afternoon showers. Breezy and cold Sunday. Coldest day of the season. So 70. We might even hit 71 on Friday. Windy on Saturday, near 70, but then falling, and then rather chilly on Sunday. Temps around 50. And it gets cold. This is the coldest day of the season. Upper 40s Monday, Tuesday, chilly on Wednesday. Showers possible Thursday. Temperatures in the low 50s. So we're going to have new information on the track of the remnants of Nicole at 11 o'clock. And all the models right now are coming in as we speak. And we'll have an update on to how much rain is going to fall and where. So hope to see you then. In the meantime, go to our website, WSAN.com. We have an article on Nicole. And also sign up to be a weather watcher and join our community. They send us pictures and we give you some training. And it's a great community. Go ahead and sign up for that. So I hope to see you at 11. I'm meteorologist Topper Shutt. I'll leave you with the 7-day for now.